welcome to the fifth edition of the And Away They Joe show. Hello, hello, hello. Melanie, how was your weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
It was okay. Yeah, I mean, we're back to work, and
hmm
I don't know. I didn't want to be back to work. As far as anything else, how about that Belmont Stakes?
That was pretty good. Boy, talk about that Tis the Law. He's a good horse.
It's the fastest Belmont anybody's ever ran.
Wow. And let's also
Uh-huh.
say that he's the first New York bred since what was it, 1882 that has won the
1882.
the Belmont Stakes, so that's pretty cool for New York.
Forrester, I think, is the name
Mhm.
of the horse that won it. But it's going to be really, really interesting seeing this Derby trail because of
Oh,
the Belmont,
yes.
and it's already weird that Tis the Law already won the Belmont,
I know.
and then now he's going to have to face. Well, I mean, let's be honest. That field wasn't really that good.
Mhm. Yeah, and
So
and
yeah,
I was questioning whether, I wanted to beat the favorite, obviously, but I mean, looking now at his, past performance, winning off the layoff for Tis the Law has not been a problem because if you look at his PPs, it's been 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and just recently, from the Florida Derby to the Belmont Stakes, it was 12 weeks. So, I mean, how many weeks is it to the Trevor Stakes? I think 7 weeks.
yeah,
So should be interesting. It's going to be a mile and a quarter. So that's kind of weird. you know,
yeah,
that's going to be weird. It's like, whoever is going to be from the Trevor's field, including Tis the Law, let's hope he makes it to the Derby. Everyone has already ran a mile and a quarter. So,
yeah. And then, not to mention, there's going to be some other horses that he's going to probably have to face, like Honor AP and Authentic and all these other ones.
mm-hmm.
So it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a good race. I mean, nothing against Tiz the Law. He ran his ass off, and I think that I don't know what happened with Tap It to Win. He just
I
looked like he got eyeballed, and then that was it.
I know, and that was my pick, and he was doing great. He was up there, and as soon as Tis the Law came right next to him, it just seemed like he stopped. I'm like, what is going on? So
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean,
it
I mean,
was kind
his
of,
that allowance race was really good though. I mean, he ran them
mm-hmm,
off their feet, but then
mm-hmm.
I thought he had a chance in the Belmont, and he did
I
what he
did
was
too.
supposed to. He did what he was supposed to with
Mm-hmm.
that number one post. He went straight to the lead, but then he had a little bit of company with four left, and then after that, he just faded. It was, I think it was, I don't know if he was running that fast, but it was just too much for him because he faded like really bad at the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited for Tis the Law, and I hope, the Connections does well because 17 years ago, the same Connections, made it to the winner's circle in the 2003 Kentucky Derby and Preakness with New York bred Funny Side. So I'll be cheering.
Oh yeah,
I'll be cheering for the Connections. That'd be pretty cool. The trainer is 82 years old, Barclay Tagg. So how cool would that be?
California, go California. Oh wait, New York. Sorry, New York. No, I'm sorry. I'm from California, so I'm a little biased. We have a little West Coast bias here. Later on in the program, we're gonna have Rodney Nelson. He is the unofficial track handicapper for Lone Star Park. You could follow him at Railbird Rodney on Twitter. You could also follow the Lone Star page on Twitter, and that is at Lone Star Park. Melanie, have you ever seen Lone Star? Have you been there yet?
I have not. I have not. That's on my bucket list. I'd love to
Yeah,
visit different tracks around the country. So never been there. That's in Texas, right?
yeah, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth area. It's like right in the middle there somewhere. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Like the track is really nice. I've been there before, and I would say for anybody that hasn't gone to Texas, or even, I mean, if you haven't gone to Dallas and you want to do something there, and if they have the meet in Lone Star, you should definitely do it. It's really awesome. I love that track. It's so nice. It's really cool. I definitely would tell anybody to go there because it's a relatively new track. It was one of my favorite tracks that I picked a couple podcasts ago. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely would love to go back there again.
Well, they got a fun Sunday race card, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Monday and Tuesday, you could also go to the Barn Book, which is actually a really nice OTB that they have there, and they don't really have that many. I think that's the only one that they have that you could. Well, we'll let Rodney explain that one. And I was gonna ask you, Melanie, did anybody ever give you the Clorox wipes?
No, no. Wow,
Still?
you remembered. No. Yeah, and you still can't find them.
Oh my goodness! Hey guys, you guys gotta follow Melanie if you haven't at Spin the
You're
Rail, and
funny.
make sure you give her the Clorox wipes. Make sure, but before you send it, wipe off your box and then put it in there, or else it's, we don't want to get this COVID thing. Is So now we're gonna have Rodney Nelson, my guest for this podcast. We're going to talk about the Sunday card at Lone Star Park.
Joining me on the podcast today, we have Rodney Nelson. He is the unofficial track handicapper at the wonderful Lone Star Park. Rodney, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous today. How about yourself?
I lost.
Well, some days you're the windshield, and some days you're the bum, right?
Yeah, and Lone Star, like the past couple of days has been a lot of long shots. So if you love long shots, you got to be playing Lone Star. Some big ones are coming in too, and if you're playing the pick fours and doubles and pick fives, whoo, it's gonna be big payouts, right?
Right. It happens a lot of times. I think Tuesday of this week we there was a $70 winner, basically to kick off the start of the Lone Star six shooter. Six out here. I mean, carryover from this afternoon. I think I saw $108,000 going into Saturday. So it's one of those jackpot bets. If you're one of those jackpot bet players, 20 cents might take home that whole pool, right?
I've hit it once a long, long time ago,
And
but it
that's
was
what you.
only at like 2,000.
I was gonna say that's what you need in these jackpot pools. You got to have some of those long shots come in to take us out and make you the only winner.
Yeah, and there's a carryover from today. We're recording on Wednesday, so was there going to be a carryover for Saturday?
Right, there is a carryover going into Saturday. I think what I saw on the TV before they cut the broadcast off was 108,000 or something like that. Pretty close to $108,000.
Yeah, so you make sure you get your tickets in for Saturday, and if it rolls over to Sunday, we got the big stake races on Sunday, so be sure to check that out. And Rodney, how did you get into horse racing?
Oh, wow, that's a pretty interesting story. Well, I've been a resident of the state of Texas my whole life, except for a couple of years out in Arizona while I went to school and I did some time in the Army overseas. But being here in Texas, the options for gaming are very limited. So before there was pari-mutuel wagering here in the state, my dad used to take some trips across the state line to go to either Louisiana Downs or to Oaklawn Park. And before he'd go, he'd say, "Give me a couple bucks and pick out a horse." He'd throw me the newspaper. I got one, and he'd come back and give me a $20 bill. So I don't know if my horse has actually won or not, but hey, it got me hooked in this game. So that's how I got into it. I've liked it. Liked watching the horses round. I've liked winning some money even more. And I'm fortunate enough to have a job that pays me to go to the track every day.
And the interesting about Texas is there's no casinos. So, like, the only thing you could really bet on is the lottery and the horses, pretty much.
That's it. Yes, the Texas Lottery and the horse racing. And the horse racing is limited too. We don't have ADWs in the state of Texas. So all or OTB. So basically any race wager that you want to make in the state of Texas has to be placed physically at one of the tracks.
Yeah, and that's Sam Houston, Retama, and Lone Star. And Lone Star is a pretty relatively newer track compared to the others. So it's actually, like, I've been there before, and it's really nice. Is there a lot of things to do out in Lone Star Park when you want to visit there?
For anyone that's coming to Grand Prairie to check out the horse races here at Lone Star Park, I mean, we're right in the middle of the Metroplex. That's Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington, Irving, Grand Prairie. I mean, tons of towns right here. I think there's about 7.5 to 8 million people in the metro area. There's always some stuff to do. I mean, if you like amusement parks, Six Flags Over Texas is right down the road. There's a water park there. One of my favorite barbecue joints is about 2 miles south of us here. That's Zavala's Barbecue. Very good. They're open on Saturdays, so I'm glad we're racing on Saturdays so I can stop by and pick me up a barbecue plate before I head up to the office. You got Dallas is right down the road. Fort Worth, other side of us. A lot of stuff to do around here in the Metroplex, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and they offer a lot of cool giveaways, and Rodney's given me some before. So he's mailed me some before that I still have, like some hats and stuff. So if you ever have a chance to check out Lone Star, you got to go. And especially you got to go to the bar and book, because for me, it was like Monday and Tuesday. We can't bet around here. All the OTBs are closed here in California. So you're able to get a drink and watch the horses and do it on a Monday or Tuesday. But I mean, now it's, because of COVID-19, but I'm sure when everything goes back to normal, that's one of the places you got to visit.
Yeah, Bar and Book is great. I mean, that's our simulcast building just to the west of our grandstand. It's on the property here. It's one of the nicest race books that you'll ever walk into. I've been in a lot of them, so not just because I work here, I'm saying that, but just as a race fan, if I didn't work here, that'd be my place to play anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we have the big stake races coming up this Sunday. We have at Lone Star, the Lone Star Park Turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. We have the Grand Prairie Derby, which is for 3-year-olds. And then we have the Lone Star Mile, which is for 4-year-olds and up, right? 4-year-olds and up?
That's right, 4-year-olds and up.
And are there any special takeouts or guaranteed pools for that Sunday?
Well, what we have is every day that we were racing, we had our debuting this year was our pick 5. It's got a 12% takeout on that pick 5, which is one of the best in the industry. It's not a jackpot pick 5. It's traditional. It pays a 5 out of 5 every day that someone has 5 out of 5, and it also pays a consolation of 4 out of 5 too. So some days when you're not as lucky, you don't hit those 5s. Sometimes those 4 out of 5s can be very lucrative. I cashed some tickets yesterday that surprised me actually how much I got back for the 4 or 5s.
Yeah. Those, I always like those consolation ones, just because you miss a leg or if like a big long shot comes in, you could sort of make your money back depending on how much you bet on the tickets.
Right. You can give you a smile on your face, hopefully, to fire away the. Along with the pick 5s, I was talking about that pick. That's we'll call it the Lone Star 6-shooter. That is a jackpot style bet. So we hope that carryover gets big, and someone hits a huge jackpot by the end of the meet.
I think it's the biggest one right now. I don't think any of the other tracks are as big as Lone Stars right now. So it's actually worth playing if you have the 20-cent. Try to do it. Maybe you might win off of 20 cents. You never know. Some people won it off of $10.
It's happened before,
Yeah. So, all right. So we got race 5 on the program on Sunday. We have the Lone Star Park Turf. That's going to be a mile on the turf. Rodney, what are your top 4 selections here?
All right, we're going 4 selections here for the Lone Star Park Turf. We actually started this race last year. This was a Memorial Day. We ran it on Memorial Day last year.
Oh, okay.
So we got a purse of $75,000. Like you said, it's for fillies and mares 3 years old and up. I think all 3 of these stakes races that we have in the card are good, especially for the better. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can go in there. The horse that I want to take on top in this race is your number 2, Fool's Paradise.
Ooh, Fool's Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, a few reasons that I'm going to talk about why I'm taking this race. Last time out, this horse earned a 80 buyer figure. That was on the turf out here at Lone Star Park. It was 1 mile in distance. The horse won it by 4 lengths.
Mm-hmm.
The connections on this horse are some of the tops right now. Ramon Vasquez, the jockey, I think he pulled away and is leading the jockey colony now over Stuart Elliott by probably 3 wins. Owner of this horse, M&M Racing. For those of y'all that are on Twitter, probably are familiar with M&M Racing and Mike Sisk. I've seen a lot of his horses run. And then the trainer, Robertino Diodoro, I mean, he's solid out here so far this year. Just those connections look good. That win coming last time by 4 lengths on our turf course. Put together a couple seconds before that. It's got a morning line of 6-1 on Fool's Paradise. And I like money. So when I see something like that, it kind of piques my interest a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Especially at 6-1, you might
You
get an
know,
overlay. You never know.
right? I mean, and then looking at some of the other ones too. Number 4, Quebec. I think that Quebec had a decent chance in this race, trained by Joe Sharp. David Cabrera gets the mount this week on him. On her, excuse me. This is a horse that tried our Lone Star Park turf last time at the 1 mile distance. That was in a allowance race. Ran second in that race behind Curlin's Journey, who's also in this race today.
Mm-hmm.
Times a few races before that, of course, ran at the fairgrounds. Spent some time out west at Santa Anita and Del Mar. I think moving in here, second start over our track after a good showing last time is something to be said for the number 4 Quebec.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, that's the good thing about it is having races like this that you can go a whole bunch of different ways. My third choice is going to be your number 3, Curlin's Journey, the one I talked about that raced and beat Quebec last time out.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of those handicapping angles that I like to take when I see horses that are competing against each other, and then they come back in the next race and they're competing again. I like to flip flop them a little bit. So it's hard for a horse to win every time out, right? So I look at it as a good showing this time. Maybe we'll flip flop them. So I'm taking Curlin's Journey as my second choice. That's a horse that's trained by Dallas Keene, who has been out here at Lone Star Park for years and years, and can definitely send out some horses to races and know where the finish line is for those horses. And my third choice, I'm going to go with your number 7. That's Cowgirls Like Us. This is a horse that also came out of that race that Curlin's Journey won. Quebec finished second. This was the third place finisher in that race. Was just behind by half a length. So the top 3 in that race were right up there close to each other at the finish line. Take a look at the race before that. The last time that Cowgirls Like Us raced before the Lone Star race on June the 3rd was in March at Sam Houston. Caught a sloppy track that day. Won it by 8 3/4. That was on that off track. But, skip down to, you see the last time this horse ran at Lone Star Park, finished second in the race. Before that, had a big win out here, won it by 6.5. So the horse is no stranger to our track. Is going to try the turf again for just the third time. I think going to try our turf track. But after a solid third run last time, I think that Cowgirls Like Us can definitely finish in the mix.
Yeah, I like those selections, and I'm hoping that the weather has been kind of eerie over there, but hopefully we're going to stay on the turf that day, right?
I hope so. We the last 2 days this week we were off the turf all 3 days this week. It's been wet, but I was watching the weather last night. It looked like it's going to be nice and sunny the rest of the way out. Summertime just started, and summertime in Texas usually means no clouds, lots of sun, and no rain.
Oh, yeah. So that would be perfect. It would be nice and firm for all those mares to go on it, or all those fillies and mares to go on it.
Right. And since we haven't been running on it this week, when I was looking at it earlier, it looked great. I mean, it's nice and green from the rain that we've been having. Looks like it's in great shape.
Do they ever let you run on the turf?
Well, I wouldn't say that they let me, but first of all, we got to talk about running. First of all, no, I do not run, but I do go out there occasionally. But no, I do not run. But we do have a couple of our jockeys. I see them running it every day. Richard Romney is one of them. I usually see him out there before the races start.
Oh, that's cool. I've only been to like one actual turf course, and that was at Del Mar during the fair. And it was weird when they had the poly track when I was walking on it. It's like a totally weird surface.
Oh yeah,
it's weird, but it's actually good to run on, I'd say.
Now I thought you might have checked out our turf course before when you had part ownership in a horse, Diamonds and Oil, right?
Oh no, I didn't get to go on there.
Oh, I thought we walked out there and took a look at it.
Oh no. I got to go to the back.
Well, see, I take so many people out to the turf course, so next time you're around, let me know, and we'll go out there and watch a race from that grass.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to do that. Another one is like just being out there on the grass and right near the rail, right at the winning post is like always fun to see. Watching a race there, even if you're watching on the dirt, but the turf is so much better.
And I'll tell you, it's kind of weird this year that since we're limited with our fans, we haven't been able to open up the grandstand to as many fans. So it's the crowd kind of limited, and it was pretty weird yesterday and Monday. The track listed as muddy, and you could really hear those horses' hooves in that mud. It was a strange sound. I'll tell you, interesting. I mean, even when they were starting on the backside, 6.5 furlongs away, standing outside the grandstand, I mean, you could hear pretty much every footstep that they took. It was strange.
Yeah, it was like I was watching Australia last night, and they had no crowds there. But I don't know if they just have sensitive mics, but you could hear everything. You could hear the horses breathing. You could hear them hitting the turf. I was just like, whoa, this is so different.
Yeah, right.
All right, and next we have the Grand Prairie Derby for 3-year-olds and up. Who do you like in this race?
All right. Well, the first horse that I like in this race is going to be your 3 horse, Gold Pilot. This horse just ran 10 days ago. Did pretty good in that race. Finished second. That was in the Groovy Stakes. That was a stakes race that was rescheduled. That was scheduled to be run at Sam Houston earlier this year, but they had to cancel, and we assumed their stakes races.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we actually had 7 stakes races on 10 days ago. That's what it was. They ran 7 of them. They were all $75,000, and it was a good day. But Gold Pilot impressed me in that race. Came on late at the end, didn't have the best start. I think at the break, a horse bumped a little bit, but picked it up and coming down the stretch was able to make up a lot of ground and finish second in that race just by a length. The race that he tried before that was the Gems Orbit. That was another $75,000 race. That one did take place at Sam Houston back in February. Horse won it by 2 3/4. So I'm thinking the horse is pretty good. That race, the Gems Orbit that he won, he beat another horse named Good Judgment, who was a next out winner. Good Judgment's been running here. So it was definitely good to see a horse that's beating a next out winner. And then hopping up into this stakes race that's happening on Sunday, I think that Gold Pilot's going to have a pretty good run. Another one of those things, I think, beat him in the Groovy Stakes, the Wonders of His Love, was one that knocked me out of the pick 5 that day. And I think that he crossed the finish line double digits or so in odds. So Gold Pilot got beat by a long shot last time out. I think that this horse can definitely get it done. So there's something to be said for horses that perform well on our track. It's one of my most favorite things to look at is how well they do out here on our track. And speaking of which, my second selection is going to be your number 8 horse. This is another horse that ran out here at Lone Star just in early June, 8th of June. Tried a mile in the 16th race. That was an allowance race. Ran second in that one by 2.5. Beat another horse that you'll see in here, Sir Rick. Lindy Wade gets the mount for Brett Calhoun again. Brett Calhoun is a Grand Prairie native out here. It's always nice to see him win some races. Definitely do it with a horse that is a long shot. This one is 20-1 on the morning line. But I'm not afraid to take those horses with big odds because, you know what, I really like to celebrate them when they come in with those big odds.
Yeah. That's interesting. Going against the number 2, huh?
Well, the number 2 is going to be my third choice. One of the things that you got to like about this horse, this stakes races, the last 2 races were stakes races. Both of those came at Oaklawn Park. Both of them were sprint races. This horse has never stretched out to a route before, so we'll see how that works. This horse Little Menace did have a solid workout on the 15th of June. 59 seconds, was 1 of 13 that day. Steve Asmussen, the trainer, he has I wouldn't say a habit, but it's kind of known that he doesn't work his horses real fast, it seems like, in the morning. So when you do see one that posts a bullet, it is definitely something to look at. I just think that the other horses might best them. I mean, favorites win races, 20% of the time in North America. So 4 out of 5 times they don't come in on top. So I do have Little Menace as my third choice. And then for my fourth pick, I'm going to take number 4, Sir Rick. Going with those connections of Diodoro and Vasquez again. I think Ramon Vasquez is one of the best riders that we have in our colony this year. This horse takes the blinkers off. I like those changes. Did try a route last time out, finished third in that race, finished behind Dr. Foreman, who I talked about earlier. But I think that Sir Rick can get up there and finish in the mix, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that one, and he won the Mind That Bird Derby at the distance.
I mean, that's always good, right? Winning that by 4 lengths. It's not it's a little bit of difference in the track surface, of course, between Sunland and
Yeah.
Lone Star. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, I mean, posted a good buyer in that race. I mean, I mean, they've all drawn up pretty tough. These stakes races are going to be fun to watch, and you got to shots and pick the ones that I'm a big player of the multi-race wagers, so favorites don't always entice me to play them unless I think it's a single. But I like to take some shots and try to separate me away from all the other players out there.
Oh, I really like that pick of number 8, second, because he could run a big race.
Right,
I
he
think so
could.
too.
I mean,
Yeah, plus 20 to 1.
The only race that he didn't perform well was 2 starts back. That was in a $70,000 race at Delta Downs. They have that small bull ring at 7 furlongs. So, he's tried that mile on the 16th last time out, finished second in it. You just count out that one race at Delta Downs, and this horse has had a good career. I mean, 5 starts and 2 wins in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and I really like the play there because you could play it also on the multi races too. So it's actually a really good pick. You get some value on it, and you might win a lot of money if it comes in. So I really like that pick a lot.
Well, don't bet it too heavy, man, because I want to get some decent odds on this horse.
Oh yeah, I know. I won't drop $5,000 on it. Trust me.
Me either, but I will take a shot.
And then we have the Lone Star Mile, which is run on the dirt at 1 mile, and that's for 4-year-olds and up. And who do you like in this race?
All right, well, just like those other races, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go, but I'm going to take number 7, Macedo Rojo. This is kind of one of those sentimental horses. This horse came out here in the Steve Sexton Mile last year. That was a grade 3 race. Won it by 2 lengths. Put together a good string of first-place finishes. I think finished first, 5 times in a row during that stretch was the Steve Sexton Mile. Performing too well. Did take a shot at a sloppy racetrack at Keeneland. Was well beaten in that one. Moved over to Churchill a mile and an eighth and late November. Didn't do too hot. Since stepping on the track this calendar year, had a pretty good race at Oaklawn, 2 starts back. At the end of January, finished 3rd in that race behind Pioneer Spirit. You'll see in this race. Tried the next race at the mile and 16th distance. Was well beaten in that. That was in a grade 3 as well. But back on this track where the horse is 1 for 1, did win that grade 3 out here. It's also the cover of our program this year. We got Macedo Rojo on there. So as a sentimental pick, I am taking Macedo Rojo on top. But can the horse be beat? Yes, of course he can be beat. I think there's some other ways that you can play it as well. One of the horses that I think that you should probably take a look at is your number 5, Hunka Burnin' Love. Now, this horse has put together 3 wins in a row. That won it by 10 lengths. The next one won it by 6.5. So winning by margins that big excites me. Buyer figures. Now, 2 of the last 3 wins came at Will Rogers Downs. Usually for horses moving from Will Rogers here to Lone Star, I don't always think that's a great move if you're winning at Will Rogers and coming here. But with the way racing has turned out this spring, there was a lot more competition at Will Rogers, just like there was a lot more competition at Fodder Park. Horses didn't have anywhere else to run. So winning races there this year does get me a little excited. Last race out for Hunka Burnin' Love came on the 10th of June. The horse won that race out here at Lone Star Park. That was at the 6 furlong distance, so adding a couple furlongs on to this Lone Star Mile. And you got to look at it to trainer the horse. Carl Broberg wins races left and right out here at Lone Star Park every year. So you got to take a look at his horses when they're out here on our track. So I do have the number 5, Hunka Burnin' Love, as my second choice. Another way that I want to go for a third choice, one that's going to be a bit of a shot, that's your number 3 horse, in Kanai Bob. Now, Kanai Bob also ran out here on that couple of weeks ago when we had that string of 7 stakes races. This horse ran in the Star of Texas Stakes that was at this 1 mile distance. Won that race by 10.5. Was the favorite in that race. Looked very, very good. Won it under a hand ride late in that race. So crossed the finish line pretty easy. I mean, 10.5 else. This horse has got a 15-1 morning line on it. I think if you get anything close to that on Kanab Bob, I think it's going to be pretty good. Jockey trainer combination is solid. Mindy Willis is no stranger to our winner's circle, neither is Lindy Wade. So I think the connections on this one, plus that 10.5 length win last time out in $5,000 at this distance on our track, looks good for Kanab Bob. And then for my next choice, the one I'm going to take here is the Asmussen trainee. That's number 8, Runaway Ghost. One of the Asmussen horses. That Runaway Ghost gets the best of the other one trained by him. This is a horse was a winner last time out at Sunland. Of course, that came back in February. Barely missed before that the $75,000 stakes race at the 6 furlong distance. So this horse is trying the mile again. Has only tried a mile once in his career. But that, you know what, that win wasn't a stakes race. Came at Sunland. He won it by 3 1/4 at the distance. Good buyer figures for this horse as well. You know, he tried the Stephen Foster last year. He's been in some good races, Sunland Derby. So I think that there's a lot to like about Runaway Ghost. And then for my third pick, I'll take the other Asmussen horse. That's the number 9 right next to him in Van Glider. This is another one of those horses that tried Will Rogers this spring. Tried a mile distance, didn't win that race, didn't come close in that race. But if you can count that one out and look at the ones before that, that was just a tune-up run since the Super Derby at Louisiana Downs, a Grade 3 race. That was back in September where he ran second in that race, missed by less than a length. Had that time off, came back, gave the races one more try in April. So I'm hoping that was just kind of a tune-up race in order to go into the stakes here. Asmussen always sends out good horses here at Lone Star. This horse's record here at Lone Star is 1-for-1 on the dirt. That one win on the dirt from that one start was at 1 mile distance. So, you know, he can run the 1 mile distance on our track. He's won it before, and see if he can't get up there and hit the board.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, with Macio Rojo, has a lot of back class. When I was looking at it, I was like, wow.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like
the horse was running in some big races. There's no doubt about that, and winning them too. I think Macio Rojo's got the speed in this race, or one of the horses that's got some speed. The way that it seems like our track's been playing the last couple of weeks is you get out there with that early speed. You don't always win, but it makes it difficult for those horses behind you to catch up to you in deep stretch.
Yeah, that's what I noticed today. It was like, oh man, these like I couldn't find one. I had to go with all the speed horses pretty much, at least like the past couple of days, because like I couldn't get any. Well, I maybe one deep closer, but that was about it.
Yeah,
it was kind of hard. But I like that pick, the seven horse at 9-2. That's really good. And Melanson's here for that race, huh?
He is. Yeah, he was out here. I want to say he rode this horse last time. That when he came out here and rode it the Steve Sexton Mile. Let me look back. No, he did not ride it the Steve Sexton Mile, but he's been out here before and he's been winning some races too. So, you know, we got a good jockey colony this year. I mean, the ones that come in and ride for stakes races have been solid. I mean, Deshaun Parker came in and rode a couple of weeks ago when we had that string of 7 stakes races that day, and I think he won 5 of them.
Yeah.
You know, for those of y'all that follow Texas racing and keep up with the Sam Houston meet in the spring, you always see Deshaun Parker finishing at the top of the standings. That's not taking it away from any of these other guys. You know, we've had David Cabrera. He's won the title out here before. He's been riding solid. Some of the guys to look out for, Lindy Wade, he's always a good rider out here. Ramon Vasquez, he's leading the standings right now. It seems like he's been winning left and right. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can go.
Yeah, and that's why I like Lone Star so much. There's a lot of different. It's like very diverse as far as everything, as far as the racing goes. It's really nice track. That's why I like betting it there too. So if you ever want to bet it, or if you ever want to visit, Rodney's the guy to look for.
That's right. Just hit me up on Twitter if you want to come. If you're going to come out, I'm at Railbird Rodney. Let me know you're going to be out here, and see if I can't find you a T-shirt or ball cap or something to make you a little more welcome out here.
And I do have one more question before you go. So we do have a lot of different angles. We have a lot of different things that we go by as far as trying to pick winners. I know people don't want to give out too many secrets, but what is your biggest angle that you look at when you're looking at the form, or even just looking at the horses in the paddock?
Well,
if you want to give it away.
I'll tell you, I'm not the best at looking at thoroughbreds in the paddock and picking out a good horse just by looking at them. Now, quarter horses, I have a lot more success just picking one out by looking at them. But my main handicap and angle when I'm looking at these horses at Lone Star Park is I really like to look at how they've done in their recent races that happened out here on our surface. So that's always a good thing. And then jockey trainer combinations. That's the thing that I look at Lone Star Park. You got a lot of the same jockeys ride for the same trainers, and those guys win a lot of races. I mean, if you look at the top 3 trainers in North America last year, I think it was Carl Broberg, Robertino Diodoro, and then Steve Asmussen, and all 3 of them are out here sending strings out day after day at our meet this year. So those 3 guys, the top 3 guys in North America last year, all sending out races. So when you see those guys team up with some of these jockeys that have a good history out here that win a lot of races, then, it sure does make handicapping some of those races a lot easier for me.
And just remember Stuart Elliott and Steve Asmussen.
Yeah. First couple of weeks of the year, they were winning everything left and right. And then it kind of happened that Broberg and Cabrera started picking up a lot of wins. And then now it's Diodoro and Vasquez. So I think Vasquez, he's picked up this week. I think he had he's probably picked up 8 wins in the last 3 days, I think.
Oh man, so he's like Erad in New York when their meet started in Belmont, just started winning left and right.
That's
so you gotta ride the hot hand sometimes. You know what I mean?
That's it. I mean, when you're hot, you're hot. I mean, another guy to look out for. I mean, I don't think he's riding. May not be riding any of these stakes that we talked about before the rest of the card. Lane Luzzy is one that's solid to look at. He piloted 2 horses across the finish line today. One of them had a morning line of 20-1. The other one was 15-1 on the line. They got bet down pretty heavy. He put that horse in front and won the race. So that's another one to look at is when you see his name, take a look at some of those horses that he's on, and sometimes you can catch some prices on them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I keep nodding, and I don't know why I'm nodding. You can't see me. I'm just nodding my head. But I agree with everything that you said. It's like it's really those stake races, and you can catch some prices. It's going to be a really, really good day of racing at Lone Star. And there's a start of the pick 4 or pick 5 in any of those races?
The start of the pick, we have a late pick 4. It's going to kick off in race 6. So you would catch 2 of those 3 stakes races in that sequence. The pick 5 starts with race number 5. So you'll catch all 3 of them right there. That one's going to kick off with the Lone Star Park Turf. 7 p.m. is the start time. It's Central Time. So for those of y'all that live outside of the Central Time Zone, do some math and figure out what time it's going to start local for you. And, hey, play it at the track. Play it on your ADW. Doesn't matter where you play it. Just play some of these races. Get those pools up so I can win all that money.
Yeah, there you go. They still have the night racing there, right? I remember Lone Star had night racing.
We used to. We're racing during the day this season. The COVID-19 kind of threw a wrench in some of our plans. Historically, we've raced on the weekends. Had a night, like Friday nights we'd race, and Saturdays, Sundays would be afternoons. But we changed our schedule this year to early in the week, see what kind of handle we can get, and everything's been pretty solid for us. So other than the heat outside, I think everyone else has been pretty happy around here the way the season's been going so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Well, Rodney, thank you so much for joining me. You could follow Rodney on Twitter at RailbirdRodney. You could also follow the Lone Star Park Twitter at Lone Star Park. Is that right?
That's it, at Lone Star Park.
I should have looked it up and I didn't. That's my bad. All right, Rodney. Well, thank you for joining me today, and hopefully you get to walk out with at the track with some winning tickets.
All right. I hope everyone out there checks out the podcast, does the same, and cashes a lot of tickets, makes some money this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rodney.
All right. Have a good one.
They're in the gate. And they're off. and an excellent start in the Steve Sexton Mile. And out from between horses, King Abner is sent hard early on. Minister of Soul in the pink is right there. G's Turn is forwardly placed. Analyze This Jet races in fourth. Shotgun Cowboy to the outside, races fifth. Title Ready on the inside. 4 lengths off the lead early on, races in sixth alongside Forever Mo. Mosito Rojo a bit wide and just beyond mid-pack as they turn onto the backstretch. Fat Man and Air Strike trail the field as they move on to the backstretch. Minister of Soul, that speedster, leads the way and is drawn just a bit clear from King Abner. G's Turn on the inside is next in third. Then comes Shotgun Cowboy, who stacked up on the outside. He is fourth by a head. To Analyze This Jet, Title Ready is down on the inside there. Title Ready is raced into fourth now, and there goes up on the outside Mosito Rojo, moving to a more contending position. He's about 4 wide into that far turn. And Airstrike is beginning to launch a bid. He's moved to mid-pack in a tight group. Fat Man is well back there with Forever Mo. It is a tightly bunched field as King Abner emerges with the lead here as they come to the quarter pole to Mosito Rojo. Airstrike to the outside right in contention. Shotgun Cowboy races fourth. Title Ready. One off the rail is about 3 lengths off the lead as they straighten away. King Abner throws down the first gauntlet. Mosito Rojo right there to the outside. Mosito Rojo on the inside, King Abner, then Airstrike, and Title Ready is racing in fourth as Mosito Rojo, Philemon Rodriguez draw clear with the Steve Sexton Mile. King Abner was second.
And that was Jim Byers at Lone Star Park calling the Sexton Mile with last year's winner, Mosito Rojo. And Melanie, I know you took a look at the races for this Sunday. Who do you have in the Lone Star Park turf?
Oh, the Lone Star Park turf. That's race 5. I have number 2, Fool's Paradise. So,
Fool's Paradise.
Yep, I like the trainer jockey combo. He won last out at Lone Star, had a great workout, and Ramon Vasquez is on him. So,
yeah, I went with Curlin's Journey just because I like the turf form that she has, and that last allowance race at Lone Star looked really good. And SoCal, she was a part of all those SoCal meets, so I'll be willing to take a chance with the Curlin here.
Nice.
And then for the Grand Prairie Derby, who do you have?
At a mile and a 16th, I have the number 4, Sir Rick, taking blinkers off. He had a nice bullet. Again, the jockey trainer combo. And I'm hoping he runs like he did back in February at a mile and a 16th in the Mind That Bird Derby. So.
Yeah, that's who I have too. I wanted to, I wanted to take a chance with Sir Rick just because of the odds of the 4-1 morning line. I'm pretty sure he might get bet down. Plus, I like the bullet, and that Mind That Bird Derby was pretty good. Won by 4 lengths. So, the other races I'm gonna throw out, and then the last one at Lone Star, he did pretty good. You know, got third, led most of the way. So, I think he'll definitely have a chance here. And then the Lone Star Mile, who do you have?
I have the number 6, Pioneer Spirit. So he ran his last race was in April in the Oaklawn Mile, and he came in 4th. And Improbable was second in the race, and he went off to win the Hollywood Gold Cup earlier in this month. So again, the trainer jockey combo, and for some reason, I'm picking my 3 horses. Ramon Vasquez is on them, so.
Yeah, I mean, I like that pick. That's a good pick. But I have Van Glider with Steve Asmussen. I just like that he has a win at Lone Star back last year in an allowance race, and he's been fairly consistent within last year after that. Didn't really do too well at Will Rogers, but I just like the Asmussen and Arima combination, and he had a good bullet in the last workout. So at 8-1 with the outside post and his closing style, I think he could do it. I think he definitely has a chance. And you know, Melanie, I was thinking about this question throughout the week, and I'm interested in what you would have to say. There's been a lot of close photo finishes, and sometimes it's the horse that you don't want to win that ends up being the winner of the photo. So if you
Yeah.
had to change a first place to a second place and flip
Mm-hmm.
flop the order, which race would that be, and who are the
Oh,
horses?
wow. Gosh, you know what? I'm going to have to go with 2010 Breeders' Cup with Blame. Blame won the race, and I mean, it was a heartbreak for a lot of Zenyatta fans. So that's going to be my race. If I could, I'd flip it to where Zenyatta would win the Breeders' Cup Classic and, go out with a record of 20-0.
Yeah, that was a heartbreak for everybody.
It was.
You could just hear everybody. I remember watching
Oh,
the race on YouTube, and I
mm-hmm.
can't imagine what it would be like if you were there and you
Oh,
just hear everybody. You couldn't hear anything.
it was
It was so
silence.
quiet.
Yeah. I, unfortunately, I didn't go to that Breeders' Cup, but
You mean
yeah, that.
fortunately?
Well, it would have been nice to just be there, but um, yeah, it would have been great to see her go out a winner, but 19-1, you can't complain with that. You can't complain about that.
Oh, I mean, even winning 3 races is hard in a row. Winning 3 in a row is hard to win. So,
Hmm. How about
and
you? How about you? If you could pick one race where you could flip it.
well, for me, it was because I was there, and it's another Breeders' Cup race, and it was the
Hmm.
distaff with Songbird and Beholder, and
Oh,
I singled
yeah.
Songbird, and I knew I should have had
Oh,
Beholder in it too, and fork over the extra money because it would have been a big pick four.
oh, wow. Yeah. But I,
And
I
yeah,
tell you, I tell you what, from my view on the track, I swear Songbird won.
and I thought she did
Yeah. Eh,
because you see how far she was. I thought she was gonna put them all to sleep, but then Beholder just started coming.
uh,
Her strides were just got starting to get bigger and bigger down the stretch, and I thought Songbird was gonna be able to hold
uh,
on, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, I thought she had it because
that was
she
a
was in the inside, and
fabulous, yeah, that was a fabulous race. I
oh,
mean,
absolutely, that's one
amazing.
that's one if you're new to racing, you definitely got to see because that one,
Uh,
the story behind Songbird was so good,
hmm.
and now she was trying to beat older horses because I think at the time she just turned 4 or she was still 3 years old, but to beat Beholder, that
Oh,
would have
yeah.
been. Yeah. I mean, not even talking about betting the race. I mean, just even beating Beholder.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable race. But, Beholder won. She went out a winner. And that was a great race, though. That was one of my favorites, I think, as far as
Oh yeah.
finishes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
It was I mean, it was just that close. There was like nothing in it. You could put like a pin and you couldn't you still couldn't tell from looking at it
Mm-mm.
between the noses. But I mean, it was good for Beholder. I mean, I like Beholder too, so it was good. It was just, a little sad day. A little sad day for me, but it's the horses. It's not really the betting, right?
Oh yeah, I can think of another race as well. How about the 1998 Belmont Stakes with Real Quiet? I swear, every time I watch this race on YouTube, I think Real Quiet is going to win, and then Victory Gallop and Gary Stevens comes out of nowhere to win the race by like a nose.
Yeah, and they did that little X-ray thing.
I mean, it was
and it
that
was
it was that close.
and everybody was on their feet because you remember if you watch that video on YouTube,
Hmm.
everybody was waiting for the numbers to be posted. And
Well,
everybody was on edge
this was
waiting,
like a triple
thinking,
crown. It was waiting
yeah,
for a triple crown, and I swear every time, no matter how many times I can watch it in a weekend, I still think Real Quiet is going to win until Victory Gallop just comes out of the clouds.
yeah.
Crazy. That was a good question, though.
Imagine like you're sleeping and then you wake up and then it was actually that. He actually did win the photo after all.
That's
Then
crazy.
everything changes. We don't have the long wait for the triple crown. So I don't know.
Mm.
It's it's just so close. Like these photo finishes are just so close. So that's what makes horse racing exciting, and that's why I enjoy the sport so much.
But I'm curious of what you guys have to say about as far as close photo finishes go. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at @and_away they Joe. You could also follow Melanie at Skim the Rail. And you could also leave us a voice message on the Anchor app, and that is anchor.fm/and_away they Joe. That about does it for us today. Thank you, Melanie, and thank you, Rodney, for being on the show today. We will be back next week, and until then, and away they go.